Soul Twin Audios. Stories created solely with the vintage soul in mind. OTRTSTA, what story can I connect you with today? I don't really need a story. I just wanted information. Very well. Tune your radio dial to anchor.fm/Soul Twin Audios. That's SOLE. Soul Twin Talk, a backstage pass into productions at Soul Twin Audios through guest interviews, commentaries, promos, and featuring your teasers and trailers. This is Rachel Polium, creator of Soul Twin Audios, the podcast where you can hear old-time radio recreations, adaptations of stories in the public domain, and original series and episodes either written by myself or other audio drama collaborators. It's been an exciting week at Soul Twin Audios. I recently handed over Fugue in C minor to Jack Ward, and you'll be able to hear that at the end of the month on Sunday, July 31st. As for now, I've been diligently working on Rope. I had planned to wrap things up this Friday and put it in Ross's hands for the music, but it's taking a little longer than I anticipated to get because I'm trying to fiddle with the sound and get that correct. But you'll be able to hear the completed production of that on Sunday, August 21st. Both can be heard at the Mutual Audio Network. That's www.mutualaudionetwork.com. Here in the studio, I have several cast members who worked on Ring Once for Death and Rope. I'm looking forward to speaking to all of them today. And throughout this episode, you'll hear several promos and a demo from a selected voice actor.
Those must be the traitors! Fire! Here this ye souls cast to the well. Upon this spot be bound to dwell, marked as traitors on thy tomb, eternally till crack of doom.
There's only one explanation. They were American soldiers and we thought they were the traitors, but they thought we were the traitors. Oh, this is horrible. Rufus, that's us in the well.
But Mistress Abigail, we're not traitors. We're patriots. We're Americans.
We're ghosts.
I'm telling you, Myra, there's something supernatural going on here.
My card, Williams Ghost Hunters, for when you want to give up the ghost.
Dr. Williams is in a terrible predicament.
We're doomed to living in a well for eternity, and you think he's in a terrible predicament.
Ghosts from the Well. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
These are souls from a time long ago, and their ways will appear strange. But know that as nice as you are to them, they may never like you. Like the first time I met my future in-laws. Perfect.
Coming soon to Soul Twin Audios.
We must buy something. For a 20th anniversary present for me. Perhaps a bell?
Good evening. May I show you something?
We think we want a bell, but we're not quite sure.
A bell carved out of crystal. And rose crystal at that. Oh, what could be more perfect? A rose crystal wedding present and a rose crystal anniversary present.
I don't think you want that.
I'd like to introduce Gina Moravec, who you might remember as Connie Innes, and our very special recreation of Lux Theater's Holiday Affair. Gina portrays Edith Williams in Ring Once for Death. Between playing Connie and Edith, which role was your favorite to play?
Yeah, I would say between the two of those, my favorite role was Connie Innes. So I did not read the entire script beforehand when I went to go voice Connie's lines. So I was finding a lot of the realizations Connie was having, I was having in the moment. And it was really fun kind of going through that scene. I distinctly remember the park scene where she's sitting and she's meeting the guy and they have that conversation that goes from being kind of like, you're a suspicious man to, oh snap, I kind of like you. The only thing is once I got to the end, I was like, no, Connie, you could have been an independent woman. That's where the story was leading. But of course, this was a play in the 50s, 60s. So of course there has to be the romantic connection. But other than that, I loved being Connie.
What other projects have you been working on?
Oh God. A few, which is great. I have been working on quite a bit this past month that I'd have to think about which ones have been more recent. I've recently been doing more commercial work. In the past couple of months, I've had a couple of opportunities to record some ads, ad placements, and get paid decently for that. Because while character work is cool, it's typically the commercial stuff that gets paid more. So that always makes me happy, even if they're not name roles. So I've also been involved in various audio dramas. I've had the chance to be in quite a few visual novels or like free online games coming out soon. There's a horror one in particular that I can't name, but I'm really excited as it's something a little bit different for me. There is one role in particular that I've been holding on to for, I want to say like 6, 7 months now, maybe even a little bit more, that I would say has been one of the biggest roles I've gotten ever. And it's an interesting situation because I actually got official merch for this character, but I still can't say who I am because it hasn't been released or approved yet. So I'm waiting with bated breath till I can announce this, and you'll know. It'll be all over my Twitter. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Do you have a dream role?
I actually did have one, and my dream came true. Actually, to give some background, there's a voice actor. His name is Sean Chiplock. If you're into dubbed anime, you should know that name. He was Subaru and ReZero, Mista, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and a lot of other characters. He's been in quite a bit. But he also streams on Twitch, and one of the things he'll do, like maybe once or twice a year, is he'll take a very text-heavy game, and in his Discord server, he'll hold auditions for these characters. So then when they're streamed on Saturday, you get to come in live and act off of him and then the various casts. So it's like a big, fun table read that's being shown to the public. And it's really fun. I actually was picked for a role last year and was incredibly nervous, but still had a great time. But the game that he's doing this year is the third game in the Ace Attorney original trilogy. And there is a character named Iris. I don't want to spoil anything, but if those of you who have played the game know what I'm talking about, you know she is just a sweetheart in a game where a lot of these characters are over the top, funny and zany, villainous, what have you. But she was the type of character when I envisioned her voice, I didn't think I could pull it off, but I wanted to try. And so that was a character that was put up for audition this past April. And I auditioned for her and other characters. Thought for a little bit that I didn't get the role, but it turned out someone else did get picked for her. But she was also picked for a different role, and she got to choose which one she wanted. And she picked the other one, and I was the understudy for Iris, so that role went to me. And I'm still smiling ear to ear from that. It's not like a big important role. It's not a paid thing, but it's one of those characters that I've always kept in my heart as a sweetheart. And it's a character I didn't think I'd voice because I thought other people had a more suited voice in terms of tone and cadence for that character than I did. But I have it. I have not voiced her yet. I think my part's going to be coming up in like late July or late August. But yeah, that was a dream role of mine, and I can't wait to do it.
Do you have any suggestions for episodes, either from an old-time radio series or a story within the public domain you'd like to hear Soul Twin Audios adapt?
Ooh, honestly, to be perfectly honest, I can't think of one off the top of my head. But to be honest, I mean that in the best way possible, because a big reason I came onto Soul Twin Audios to audition for projects, whether it's through the voice acting or sound editing, is because in college, actually, I was in one class that was like one college credit. So it was like a once a week thing where we did audio dramas live, and like we made the Folly live and recorded live and all that stuff. And it's funny, my friends showed up to that performance, and while I'd argue the performance wasn't great, they still remember it because how unique it was. But of course, for these productions, we used a lot of older scripts. And I personally, since then, have not actively looked for these types of older scripts, but I remember loving them and making them come to life. So I don't have any suggestions because I love every time I come to audition for a project. It's typically one I haven't heard of yet, but it still has that old-timey charm And I'm always excited to be surprised and see if it's something I can help pull off. But yeah, regardless of what you pick, I will definitely be there, and I will keep auditioning as long as I have the time to.
From Markiewicz Audio Works comes a bone-chilling story of madness and murder.
You did something unspeakable, didn't you?
Unspeakable?
You're mad.
Mad, you say? Oh, I think it was his eye.
Based on the 1843 short story by Edgar Allan Poe.
I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye.
I think I have had a sly visitor over the past few nights.
And fell upon the vulture eye. Oh, it was open. The old man's hour had come. He shrieked once only. The old man was dead, and with calculated haste, I dismembered the corpse. Just make it stop, the beating of his hideous heart.
The Telltale Heart.
And next we have Richard Braddock, who is a newcomer to Soul Twin Audios. You'll hear him portray Dr. Mark Williams in Ring Once for Death. Without giving away the ending, could you tell us your favorite part of Ring Once for Death?
I think my favorite parts of Ring Once for Death was the scene in Sam Key's shop and the scene where Mark and Edith first ring the bell. Old radio drama has this building suspense that's really fun to portray.
Could you tell us some of the other projects you've been in, either voice acting roles or on the stage?
You can hear me right now as the intro and outro guy for Mercury Theater Podcast's Universe 25. Some projects in development I'm a part of is I have a small role in Mark Healy's The Strata as Leota, and I'll also be returning in Joe Harrison's Crusade of the Rebellion Episode 7, as Sergeant Major Hurst and reprising the role of Colonel Blumberg, which has a soft release date of fall 2022. As for the stage, I'm currently performing in Ohio as the frontiersman Simon Kenton in the outdoor drama Tecumseh, and at the same theater I'll also be playing Robert Shallow in Merry Wives of Windsor.
What is your dream role?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? All roles are dream roles, because I like working. That's the easy answer. But really, anything surreal, horror, or period pieces I love to do. In fact, if you know of a surreal horror western project, film, audio, stage, whatever, give me a call.
Do you have any suggestions for episodes, either from an old-time radio series or a story within the public domain you'd like to hear Soul Twin Audios adapt?
You know, the first ever vocal project I ever worked on was an audio drama adaptation of Shadows over Innsmouth by H.P. Lovecraft, back in, 2015. It never got published. I'd love to do that again.
Gina, Richard, thank you so much for answering my questions and being here today. Ring Once for Death will air at www.mutualaudionetwork.com on Sunday, July 17th.
Midheaven, the highest visible point in the sky a celestial object traverses. What if in the beginning, the ancient gods were merely mortals that all had the fortune or misfortune of seeing what the sky namers called the Ascendants? This is where the birth of a mythos, a fable began. This is when the gears of the great blinding clock set forth and our story begins. 5,000 years ago, the Ascendants and their advanced cybernetics first arrived. They would infuse their paradox embryo into our primeval gene pool. Only a special few would actually be awakened. They would become gods. However, just one could stop the great blinding clock, and with it, the death mist. It is known that between heaven and earth is Midheaven, but who will be Earth's last hope?
Soul Twin Audios presents a very special recreation.
I guess this is one holiday we won't forget. Well, that's that. Mind if I turn on some lights?
No, not yet.
It's time you pulled yourself together, isn't it, Tom? They'll be here in a few minutes.
Do you realize what we've done, Brandon?
I know exactly what we've done. And done well, if I may say so.
I hope so.
Of course, using this rope was an absolute stroke of genius. Much neater that way. Stainless, no telltale mementos.
We're not through yet. Don't forget that.
Suspense's lost episode, Rope.
I was really excited to get the opportunity to produce this lost episode from Suspense. I was contacted by Joe Webb, who knew that Soul Twin Audios produced recreations, and so he gave me a list of possible choices from scripts he had. And naturally, being a Suspense and Hitchcock fan, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to produce Rope. First, I'm going to speak with Justin Fife, who plays the role of Brandon. The role of Brandon is such an iconic character. Did you watch the Hitchcock film to help prepare for the role?
That would have been a really good idea. But no, I didn't watch the movie. Actually, I haven't watched the movie at all. I haven't watched it. However, I do want to. I've watched other Hitchcock stuff and I enjoy it. I don't know why I haven't watched this one. It kind of slipped through the cracks, but after doing this role and kind of reading through the script and anticipating some of these parts and hearing them, I want to now. So to see how it compares. So no, I didn't, but I probably should have.
As a voice actor, you've had many different roles from other companies. What's been your favorite role to play and why?
Oh, man, that is an incredibly tough question. You're hitting me with the hard ones here. They're like my babies. I don't want to say that one is my favorite out of all of them. But I think generally my favorite type of role to play is the bad guy. I don't know why. Maybe because it's so contrary to who I am as a person normally, day to day in real life. I'm not a bad guy. I think I'm a pretty good guy. So being able to play the bad guy, I don't know. It's something that I'm not. So I like that. I like the challenge of it. And I think really good actors are the people that can take the roles and just make you hate them, right? That's good acting. And that's what I aspire to do. So being the bad guy.
What other projects are you currently working on?
There are quite a few. There are some that I can't talk about, but some that I can. And those are The Other Stories, which is a podcast about short horror stories written by a group out of the UK, and it's fantastic. Please check it out. The Other Stories podcast. Tons of different narrator talent, and the stories are great. They're all fantastic, very well produced, and very well voice acted. Not just from me, but from everybody. Another project that I'm working on, a recurring role for Pendant Audio, is The Kingery, where I play a very bad man, Mr. Papa Arkell. And he's not a great guy. I mean, he tries, but he's not a good guy. And it's pretty fun to play him. So I would say those two. Check those out. Fantastic productions.
Do you have any suggestions for episodes, either from an old-time radio series or a story within the public domain you'd like to hear Soul Twin Audios adapt?
In terms of suggestions, we should do more Hitchcock stuff because that was fun, and I want to do more. so more of that, please. And thanks for the opportunity to play the role of Brandon. I appreciate it. I had a blast. I can't wait to hear it, and I hope that everybody enjoys. Thank you.
He said he developed a method for going back into one's childhood memories and seeing them as clearly as if they had just happened.
I'm really interested to go through the whole thing with you this time and see if I experience something similar to what you did.
I just want to thank you all for having the strength to see this whole process through.
What if we don't come out the other end of this as the same people, Gemma? What if listening to these is changing the fundamental programming of how our brains work?
They should be given the truth of what happened to them.
Subject is still reporting headaches with pain located just above the ears on either side.
He knew. God damn it, he knew there were side effects. That asshole.
I'm close. I know I am so close. Tomorrow, get looking for more subjects.
I will find a way to stop what you have started. I promise you that.
It's not me. I'm not doing this. Wood, are you okay? Come back to me, Thomas. Find echoes in between anywhere you listen to podcasts.
I have Rachel Schumacher, who appears in both Rope and Ring Once for Death. Between the roles of Diana and Ring Once for Death and Layla from Rope, which role did you enjoy playing more and why?
That has to be Layla, simply because, Diana's fine, but most of her energy is very like, oh, what happened? Everything's fine. Layla is like a prodder, like her entire thing in the piece is just, sure, you have a dead body, then let me see it, right? And those are the most fun. You love messing with people, best characters.
Do you have a dream role?
As a visual actor, my dream role has always been some iteration of the Joker. It's cliche, it's awful, I know, but I love him as a character. And he's at the top tier of my list. Tied also with some sort of role in motion capture. I really, really, really love motion capture, and I desperately want to play a creature of some kind, like not me as a video game character, like a creature, like a Smeagol and Gollum style Planet of the Apes thing. And then the third, tied for the top, which would be voiceover, is to be in some sort of an anime style production. Whether it's an anime and I get to play the English voice, which I really want to do, or it's like that vibe where it's dramatic and it's over the top and it's super fluid, gorgeous animation. It all counts.
What other projects have you been working on lately?
There's quite a few. One that just recently released is Shepard's Last Days in Space. You can find it at Neon Lights Media on YouTube, and it was so much fun. It's like a sci-fi thriller, alien-inspired piece, and I love horror and thriller and all of the terror and stuff, so that shit was fun. Another teaser that just dropped is I Will Be Perfect on Cami B Studios. I got to voice a little girl in that. That was fun. One that's been running for a while and we're working on its final episode now is Paella from Dakota Gregoric Films on YouTube. And I love voicing Paprika. She's a giant ferret and her voice is high pitched and crazy and it's lots of fun. The Infinite Realm is always running on Castbox under Realmworks Audio. I get to voice a very snooty cat, which we love. The furry inside me craves it. And of course, the biggest of shout-outs to Studio YG Crow, also on YouTube and their own website, where you can watch Keithera Zero, where I get to voice the lead of Ada, and she is a cyborg/robotic detective who fights another guy with a bunch of implants who's like crazy and stuff, trying to steal things. And I did their short a while ago, but their Kickstarter is currently running to make a full 20-minute pilot episode. And I desperately hope it gets funded because I would love to voice some badassery. So please go check that out on Kickstarter. And that's a lot of the stuff that's currently out. Some stuff we're in the works of. Can't talk about it, but you know. Lastly, a short film that I'm in called Where the Shadows Feast. It's a detective noir thriller. So much fun. Some of the best realistic acting that I've been able to do so far. That teaser just released on Disastermind. So disastermind.net. You can watch the trailer for that. Please go give it a view. And that's the majority of the ones that I can talk about at the moment that are releasing or released. And yeah, you can follow me on Instagram to keep track of it all. Please do, in fact. I love to say hi to people on there and all that kind of jazz. And support means a lot, you know? If you've got a project in the works, hit me up.
Do you have any suggestions for episodes either from an old-time radio series or a story within the public domain you'd like to hear Soul Twin Audios adapt?
So I'm a classic lover. So, and we've done some horror pieces, right? Technically, you can argue that Ring Once for Death and Rope are some sort of like classic short horrors. I love the big name ones, of course, Frankenstein, Dracula, things like that. They would be a lot of fun to do. I also think if there's a way to do some, like, Edgar Allan Poe, that would be some gorgeous horror. If you can get good voices for that and good audio effects, you could blow minds with that. I'd even be down. I don't know if there are a lot of voice actors out there who want to do it, but I love Shakespeare, even in its natural tongue. I would be so down to fuck with some Shakespeare. I would be very down to mess with some Shakespeare and have a good time doing that, if anyone would listen.
And now, our featured voice artist, Aristotle Duque.
If you're anything like myself and thousands of other Americans, you're probably paying way too much for internet. That's where NetSync comes in. Faster speeds, a reliable network, and lower prices? What's not to love? Luxury, elegance, speed. These 3 words define the next generation of performance motor vehicles from Albin. Take your time. Enjoy the ride. Albin. The all-new Crispy Chicken Triple Smackdown Meal. 3 crispy chicken tenders with lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, and our world-famous flaming hot buffalo sauce. Come put our chicken where your mouth is. You wouldn't want to eat the same old food day in and day out, so why do we assume our pets want to do the same? We ditched the dry food for a healthier, more natural option. Fresh Pets comes in all sorts of flavors and is stored in the fridge next to our food, so you know it's fresh. You can feel every beat, every note. If you close your eyes, it's like you're there. Our all-new RealSense technology puts you on the stage. A portable concert right in your back pocket. RealSense. Feeling is believing.
Adam Blanford is no stranger to working with Soul Twin Audios. You'll hear his work in The Turn of the Screw as a sound engineer, actor, and author of a poem song, which is heavily featured in my adaptation. Given that the role of Rupert Cadell is so iconic, originally played by Jimmy Stewart, did you end up watching the film to get inspired?
I actually did not watch the film. I decided to approach the role as originally as I could. I felt like if I watched Jimmy Stewart's interpretation, one, he's an amazingly gifted actor, so it would be really intimidating to try and approach the role after watching him do it. But also, I wanted to make the role my own and give him my own interpretation. So I really read the script and I focused on what was in the script itself and really tried to construct Rupert based on what I gleaned from that version of the script. So And my character is a little bit different. You know, he's British, so he's playing this a little bit differently than the way Jimmy Stewart played his version. So I really tried to approach it from a different angle.
What part of creating the role of Rupert was your favorite?
I really enjoyed trying to read between the lines. You know, in the story, he's interacting with these various characters, and he's starting to suspect that something is up. And but how do you show that person? How do you portray that level of suspicion and give it that slow burn? So I really enjoyed trying to make Rupert suspicious. I enjoyed trying to, pace his speech so that he's really just kind of, okay, yeah, sure, I totally believe your BS. But secretly I know that you're full of it and I'm gonna find you out. It's fun to have that moral outrage. You don't get to do characters that often have that really rousing speech where they're talking about morality and where they're really going off because they are standing up for their principles. And so being able to do that as Rupert was a lot of fun. I got to try and do that. I don't get to do that very often.
Do you have a favorite old-time radio series? Do you have any suggestions for episodes either from an old-time radio series or a story within the public domain you'd like to hear Soul Twin Audios adapt?
That is a tough one because I actually listened to a lot of old-time radio when I was growing up and also, when I was in grad school. I needed things to take my mind off what I was doing. So I listened to shows like Suspense. I listened to Jack Benny. I listened to George Burns and Gracie Allen. I listened to Abbott and Costello. So I listened to a lot of the really iconic voice actors over the years. And so I had the opportunity to hear some great work being done. I would say I really do love Suspense because there were so many great stars that guested on that show. And there were so many stories that they were very dark. I mean, they always involved a murder of some kind or something equally terrifying. But I really enjoyed the buildup. And I think if I were to suggest a specific series and episode, I would suggest Suspense and an episode called A Little Piece of Rope. It's about a young woman played by Lucille Ball in the original episode. She runs afoul of a murderer. You know, she's a thief. She will mug people and steal their money and run off. She can get away with it because she looks very, very young and very, very innocent. And so that allows her to draw people in and then strike. And what happens is she meets this guy. She ends up going someplace with him. He tries to murder her, but she gets away from him. And then there's this kind of cat and mouse game going on. And they start doing it through the newspaper classifieds, which, you know, if you're really young, you may not really remember the classifieds, but they would correspond, and they would basically taunt each other until finally they decide to have a final showdown. And the final showdown is great. There's a lot of really great tension to it. The actor who played the murderer in the original series, he was called Mr. X. He was fantastic. So anyone getting to play that part would have a field day. And anyone getting to play Lucille Ball's role would have a field day. So, yeah, I think that would be a really fun one to adapt, maybe for a more modern audience, or maybe just keep it in its original 1940s-esque time frame. But it would be a great challenge to do.
I'd like to thank the Rope cast members for taking the time to be with us today and answer my questions. As always, stay safe, be happy, and always remember,
I can do anything. I can reach any goal today. I can do what I want. I can be what I want to be.
You've been listening to Soul Twin Talk. I'm your host, Rachel Polium, and I would like to thank all of the guests who appeared on the show today. Gina Moravec, Richard Braddock, and some cast members from Rope, Justin Fife, Rachel Schumacher, and Adam Blanford. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you did too. All music except for some transitional pieces from Storyblocks was composed by Ross Bernhardt. The trailer music in Rope was composed by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. A special thanks to Jack West, Jason Markowitz, Stephen Murray, Bronson Metcalf for allowing me to include their promos in this episode. And you can find Aristotle Duque on Twitter at AristotleVO.